We've now got Mr. Edmon Chung from DotAsia, who's going to take our next session. DotAsia is basically the pioneers of IDN. He's going to be talking about how IDN works and affects search engine optimization, a quite niche and a very important topic that I'm guessing most of you as resellers would be interested in. Another very fun fact for the day that Edmon told me when I was sitting with him is around 5 years ago, DotAsia was launched right here in this room. So we can have like a big round of applause for that. Yeah, it's been 5 years since DotAsia was launched. I'm going to now hand it over to Edmon to take this session forward.
So good morning, everyone. As was mentioning, actually standing on this stage, I'm having quite a lot of memories flashing back. DotAsia actually launched 5 years ago right here, and we had a pretty good party. We had Bollywood singers and dancers join us, and here we are 5 years from then. But today I wanted to talk to you about IDNs. And what is IDN? You may have heard about it. It's an acronym, obviously. It's Internationalized Domain Names. So what exactly is it? It's like a domain name, of course, you understand, domain name, and of course from DotAsia, I'll use a DotAsia example. And IDN is really something like this in Hindi. So you would have local characters, native characters in the domain name. And of course, you don't just stop at the second level. It is possible to have IDNs in the top level domain as well. I wouldn't really try to pronounce this, but I think it's name.asia. It means name.asia, at least that's what Google Translate tells me. But so in terms of the technology behind it, every particular character, there is a Unicode code point, and that gets sort of coded into what is called Punycode. And the actual domain name, just for technology people out there, the actual domain name is a string of alphanumeric characters, and that's called a Punycode name. And technically, we call them what is called a U label, which is what you see, and an A label, what you see in the alphanumeric. This sounds very technical, but I can assure you this is the only technical side I'm showing you, because IDNs is about this. It's not about all the technology behind it. It's about the next billion of people coming online. You know, we have significant growth of people coming online in Asia. In fact, Asia is already the world's largest internet marketplace, and India is one of the engines of growth. And this is what's going to happen. For the first billion of users, a lot of them knew English, and a lot of them are very familiar with English. But the next billion of internet users, they're going to be much more comfortable with their own language and their native language. And that's where IDN matters. Businesses use local language. Why? Because local business is trying to attract the local business. That's why they use local language. There is English in there as well, as you can see, you know, and that plays a role. So English domain names have a role, and IDNs have a role, and especially speaking to the local audience. And one thing about domain name is that in the many years that it has now developed, it has become more than just a name. It is really a brand. It's your identity online. And depending on who you're speaking to, and I'm sure you've seen business cards where one side is in Hindi, for example, and one side is in English. In China, we have a lot of times one side in Chinese and the other side in English. And the IDN, the internationalized domain names, play a role in that part. You want people to know you in that name because they can remember that better. I must have pressed the wrong button. So really what it is about online branding. And online branding starts with general brand management. This is something that comes out of your MBA school, how your brand is developed. But online, there's an additional thing. Not only is everything tactical, but it's also a lot of perceived value. And here are some of the attributes I think that play a very strong role. One of which everything starts, an online brand everything starts with the domain name or domain names. Because I want you to think about that as a brand. It's not only one domain that you're looking at, it's a portfolio of names. And that plays a role into search engine optimization, which is number 2. To build a brand, why search engine optimization is important is because you want to track the traffic. You want people to come to your website. And that's part of the peripheral draw of your brand. And third of all, and which is, I guess everyone knows already, is about social media. These are the 3 things I think are very crucial to your online branding, and it relates very much to IDNs, and I come back to why. Because on the internet, really what you're talking about is perception, because on the internet, everything is about perception. So what is in domain name? When domain was first introduced or first designed, it was really just a navigation tool. But in the mid-90s, late 90s, it's become a brand. It's become a vanity value as well. Over the years, it also became a sort of investment value. A portfolio of names or even 1 or 2 high-profile names could be a very strong investment value. Today, one of the key value drivers of domain names is also search engine optimization. And I'll come back to why. And for domain SEO, there are a few things that you probably already know, but this is something that I would repeat to your customers as well. A big chunk of the ranking algorithm is based on your domain names, including how long the domain name has been registered, how relevant the domain name is related to the keyword. And when people actually click on a Google result, they will look at the domain name. Research has shown time and again, they will look at the domain, and visitors feel more trust if the domain is relevant to what they were searching for. So a few things. The whole main point is that the domain name really starts with your brand, but it's more than your identity. It's also a search engine optimization driver. And here are just some common mistakes, I guess, that small, medium-sized businesses make. And this is something that you probably know, but this is something you can tell your customers. One of the most obvious one is settling with a very long domain name. And the other thing I like to highlight is that people who today tries to decide on a company name before they look for a domain name, that's, I think, a mistake. But other people think otherwise. But another thing that is important is to not only think about one particular domain. Take away the myth about one domain name, one brand. It's about a portfolio of domain names supporting your core domain. And here's why. You've heard of what is called a long tail. And this is really what it is in terms of the internet. That's what the internet drives. It gives you the value of the long tail. And the portfolio of domain names gives you that long tail. And that includes IDNs, that includes all types of domain names that people are searching for you on. And your main website, your main domain, your main brand, that is still going to be very important, of course. But think about the domain, sort of your domain strategy as a portfolio of domain names rather than one. Because online, you must have heard of this marketing sort of saying that it's all about location, location, location. And what a portfolio of domain names gives you is the ability to have multiple locations. Just like a brick and mortar company that has many chain stores, right? Many stores at different corners of the place, of the street. The reason for that is they can drive more traffic into their stores. And a physical level, you have multiple stores spread out in different places. In a virtual scale, on the internet, we're talking about multiple domain names driving traffic to your main site or driving traffic to things you want to sell or things that is important that you want your audience to know. So a very important thing to tell, I guess, your customers and registrants is that don't only just focus on one particular domain name. Reclaim the traffic that other people are probably exploiting around your products or your services and develop a portfolio of domain names. And that portfolio of domain names should include IDNs. And here's why. Because when users search on the internet, today people still ask me, Not a lot of people use IDNs. They don't type it in the browser bars because they're not used to doing that. But think about this. People in China, people in Japan, and I'm sure people in India as well, when they search for local information, when they want to search for something that they know in their local language, they're not going to turn around and search it in English. They're going to search it in the native language. And because the native language search terms, if they match with your domain name, that increases your ranking. So that is the reason why your portfolio of domain names, it's very important to think about IDNs as well. Social media. This is third sort of leg that I think in terms of online branding is very important. And why is this important with domain names? Again, it is actually, social media has become the search engine of nowadays. The number of searches on Facebook and Twitter has actually surpassed Google in some places around the world. And the other thing about it is that on social media, think about what type of language people are going to be using. People are very likely going to be using their native language. And that, again, is the reason why IDNs are very important. So we're seeing a general paradigm shift of mindset of people coming on the internet. And a lot of the branding is really about not just your core brand, but how people get to your main site. Because if you have the portfolio of names and you do the search engine optimization right, it creates what I call the designer serendipity. Somebody is searching for a product they want, but you end up being the company that serves them. That's what I call designer serendipity, and that's built by a domain portfolio, SEO, and good social media strategy. I'm going to skip through this a little bit, but one of the things about IDNs is that it has been around for a little while. You might have heard about it. You might have think it's not happening, so to speak. However, things have changed. Things have changed significantly over the last couple of years. One thing is that country code top-level domains are starting to become to have IDNs in China, in India, very shortly, in all around Asia. In fact, is leading the pack. And not only that, but also, I think earlier somebody Quack taught about new top-level domains. Here's a number of new top-level domains that are in IDN. And of course, there are some Hindi top-level domains as well. A lot of them are coming from China, and some from Arabic as well. But speaking about new generic top-level domains, I think you probably know by now, as you're part of the industry, that we are going through a pretty big explosion. With just around 300, well actually 250 odd top-level domains today, we're going to be looking at over 1,500 top-level domains. And what's this going to make a difference? I think Quek mentioned it a little bit as well. A lot of these top-level domains are going to be brand-directed. And well, at the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to the dollar sign. Just in the application of these about 2,000 top-level domains, that has generated about $350 million of value into the system, if you will. And of course, that is just the application fee that is being sent to ICANN. So, and that's not counting for some of the most sought-after top-level domains, like .app. There are 13 applications for .app. .home, there's 11 applications for .home. .music, .movie. And a lot of this, I think, is driven by two things. One is the search engine value of domain names, and the other is, of course, the second hottest item, which is cloud and big data. And you can clearly see this by looking at who is applying for the most top-level domains. Look at this. Google applied for about 100 top-level domains. Amazon applied for 76 top-level domains. Microsoft came in with about 11 of their own. And why? Because all these three companies are very strong or are vying for what is called the cloud space. And think about it. What does cloud space mean? Namespace is cloud space. How you allocate resources over the internet is through names, is through domain names. And this is one of the main drivers and reasons why you see these three big companies competing in the cloud space, but also competing in the domain industry. And again, it all comes down to the revenue, the money that comes in. But it's not just about money, and I just will sort of switch over to a little bit of thing. .kits, for example, it's not just about money. .kits is one of the new top-level domains that we're supporting. They are in competition with Google and Amazon. However, this is one of the things that we believe that it's not just about driving revenue. DotAsia itself is a good example. As I mentioned, we launched 5 years ago. DotAsia ourselves is actually a not-for-profit organization. And all of the domain revenues, all of the income that comes to us actually gets put back into community projects around Asia. And it's various different projects that we've run. Before I go there, as I mentioned, we are now 5 years old. We're seeing a lot more .asia domains being registered. We've reached 500,000 of registrations registered by this year. We've just surpassed 500,000 of domains under management. We're also seeing a growing .asia presence on Google index page. We grew from 2009 from about 13 million index pages on Google to this year about 140 million entries indexed at Google. It's trusted by big banks around Asia. DBS.Asia was utilized as a regional campaign across Asia. And what is interesting about this is that DBS actually has dbs.com, which goes to their corporate site. And check it out. If you take a look at dbs.asia, it actually goes directly to their Facebook page. This is another thing that we're seeing, how people are innovatively using domain names. It doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new site. It could be a driver to your social media engine online. This is a very interesting thing. Of course, we also seeing different governments start using .asia and important initiatives, which is sort of like the Oscars, the Asian Film Awards using .asia. But what we're most excited about is that small and medium-sized businesses are starting to use .asia domains as their core website. And this is just an example in New Delhi. We're seeing many .asia names being used in Southeast Asia, in Japan, in Korea, in China. And one of the interesting things we are seeing is that small, medium-sized businesses sometimes use their local TLD. For example, here it's .in or .in. They use it for the local market, but think about an Indian small, medium-sized company trying to do business in Singapore or trying to do business in Malaysia or China. .asia suddenly becomes a brand that they can utilize. And here just, not only just online utilization, but offline uses, and you're seeing them on billboard ads, on taxis, side of taxis, and on bus ads. And this is just to let you know, in terms of .asia, we are seeing a lot more growth now from Asia. When .asia started 5 years ago, a lot of registrations came from US and Europe. Today, the majority of registrations are coming from Asia, and that shows a lot of things. The other thing is that not only the registrants are coming from Asia, we're seeing a shift, and we're helping support the growth of the domain industry in Asia as well. So you see the top Asia registrars have moved from more US and Europe-centric registrars to more Asian-centric registrars. And here, just closing off, one of a few things highlighted that .asia has been supporting, like One Laptop Per Child initiative. That's where the .asia money goes to support sending laptops to rural villages around Asia. We have an R&D grants fund. We support an entrepreneurship awards. We support a youth volunteer program called Net Mission. We run some youth camps around Asia. We have a new initiative called Go.Asia that we run. We worked with Jamie Oliver on a Food Revolution Day. We worked with the UN on a Food.Asia campaign. We worked with Mandela organization on Mandela Day.Asia. We continue to support the community around Asia and on various projects. And today, we're also expanding the .Asia offering, I guess, in the new GTLD process. We're applying for a number of new generic top-level domains with a number of partners, and we're spinning off a new company that's called NameSphere that will be running those new top-level domains. So in closing, I think in terms of new top-level domains, or in terms of domain names, it's not only going to just be the volume of registration, the number of domain names anymore. It's going to be about creating value, no matter whether you're for a company or whether you're running a top-level domain registry. The whole domain industry will be moving towards not just looking at volume or number of registrations, but also looking at the economic value, the social value that it brings to your customers, and also synergistic value. So portfolio of domains, of course, it increases the number of domain names, but if you tie it into search engine optimization, if you tie it into developing an online brand, that's where the value comes. And that's what's going to motivate people to register names, and that's what's going to drive the industry. So in pretty much in closing, the strategic domain portfolio is, I think, a very key, and in it, IDNs are a very important component of it because of search, and it's all about driving traffic. It's about driving the search engine optimization value with the portfolio of domains and how it interacts with social media. A lot of the social media content is going to be created in native languages, and how that plays a role with IDNs. And of course, ending with that IDN itself and native language domain names, that's very important. Because think about it, every company online is actually a media company. If the media companies utilizes native language for their products, think about why IDN should be a part of that. And just in the last slide, really, we are launching 1 and 2 characters .Asia domains. It wasn't available before. It's now being launched in a few days' time. It will be Sunrise. Next month will be Landrush, and then it will be going to public release in December. So with that, I'm just one of the things about .Asia is that it is connecting Asia with one domain, not only on the commercial level, but also on the social level. We believe that we're contributing to the internet in Asia. Thank you.